Okay, what's going on, everybody? We are here. We are live. I want to thank you all for joining me today. If you can see and hear me clearly, please drop a 1 in the live chat, and then we can get today's show started. It's going to be a very interesting show. As I'm waiting for the ones to come into the live chat, if you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button, because that's the most important thing you can do for me on this channel. What it does, that helps make sure that those who are subscribed to the channel will indeed get their notifications, and it also helps to push this video through the YouTube algorithm. And lastly, or I should say secondly, if you're new to the channel, or maybe you've been ghost watching this channel for quite some time now, please do me a favor and yourself a favor by hitting the subscribe button, as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button, so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. And lastly, but most importantly, please make sure you are following me on Telegram at TD Media Group to help circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. The link to my Telegram is pinned in the live chat. It's in the description box below and will be pinned in the comment section at the end of this stream. And with the ones coming in, and I can see that you can all see and hear me clearly, let's get today's show underway. I wasn't planning on going live today. I was actually going to drop this video as a pre-record, but as I was coming across so much information, I said, well, let me go live, because there's actually a lot to cover and to talk about with what's going on in Canada right now concerning Trump's 25% tariff threat, right? If they don't get their border in order, as well as, help to stem the flow of drugs coming into the country from Canada, right? Trudeau's government, who's the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau is the Prime Minister of Canada. His government is completely collapsing. And it seems to be collapsing under the weight of the incoming Trump administration, which is very interesting, because Trump isn't even sitting in the Oval Office yet. But Trudeau's government is already collapsing, just with the weight of the possible of what's to come with the Trump presidency on the horizon, right? Recently, Canada's deputy prime minister and the woman is also their finance minister. Her name is Chrystia Freeland. She resigned. She resigned from her position. And it seemed to be partly, if not 50% of the reason that she resigned is due to the disagreement between her and Trudeau over how to deal with Trump. That was pretty much the straw that broke the camel's back, their inability to come to an understanding of how to go about dealing with the 25% Trump tariffs, right, that he's proposing if they don't get things in order. And what I find even more interesting concerning Canadian politics and what's going on over there is how much their current state of politics is mirroring what we have going on here in the States. Essentially, in a nutshell, Justin Trudeau is their Joe Biden. Trudeau is their Joe Biden. And the man that's going to be running up against Trudeau, I believe his name is, I have it written down here, Pierre Poilievre. I know I'm probably butchering his last name. My apologies for that. He's actually essentially their version of Donald Trump, and he's pushing a Canada first, initiative, right? So it's really interesting how things are playing out over there and how much they mirror what's happening here in the US. So what I want to do first is that I want to pull up very quickly this CNBC video, where it's just going to kind of introduce us into what's actually going on over there concerning the Trump tariffs, the potential tariffs, I should say, and how it's affecting the Canadian government so far. So let's jump into this video first.
All righty, folks. Trump tariffs causing a little bit of turmoil in Canada. Let's get to Megan Casella for the latest on that. Megan.
Hey, Tyler, that's right. A little bit of turmoil up north today. It started this morning when Chrystia Freeland, she's one of Trudeau's top aides, announced that she would be resigning from Trudeau's cabinet. Freeland said in a letter posted to social media that Justin Trudeau told her on Friday that he no longer wanted her to serve as his finance minister. She says he did offer her another position in the cabinet. She does not say which one, but that her only honest path, she says, was to resign. Now, Freeland had a very broad portfolio. She was a key advisor to Trudeau for years now, first as his foreign minister, then more recently as his finance minister. She was the top negotiator for Canada during the first Trump term on trade issues. She was regularly here in Washington for those NAFTA talks. She also pushed to make sure that Canada would not be hit in that first term with Trump's tariffs on steel and aluminum. Now she says that she and Trudeau were at odds in recent weeks about the best path forward for Canada, including over how to handle what she called the grave threat of aggressive economic nationalism from the incoming administration. She goes on to say in the letter that Canada needs to take the threat of tariffs extremely seriously, including by keeping its fiscal powder dry today so we have the reserves we may need for a coming tariff war. Now, Tyler, all of this appears to have come as a shock in Canada. CTV is reporting up there as well that Trudeau himself has conveyed to his cabinet he is considering resigning. No clarity on that yet, but it does leave Canada without a key trade negotiator at this very tense time with the U.S., which is its largest trading partner. Guys?
I think the...
So what I want to do next, right? Because like I said, this collapse that's happening with Trudeau's government in Canada, Donald Trump's presidency is the straw that broke the camel's back, right? Concerning why Chrystia Freeland resigned. And what I want to do is that I want to read essentially her resignation letter, because she calls out, the America First nationalism and the Trump administration, by name multiple times over, really highlighting that this is the reason that she's leaving, because they just can't come to any sort of conclusion with how to deal with Trump. Essentially, in a nutshell, really concerning the relationship between Trudeau and Ms. Freeland. I'll put it to you like this. Trudeau's just soft. Trudeau's soft, and Freeland wants to take a more aggressive approach, a more aggressive stance towards dealing with Trump. And like I said, Trudeau, it seemingly he just doesn't really want to do that. He doesn't really want to take it there, right? So this is about a page long. I do want to read it in its entirety because I think it's important that we get the full context of this letter. But very quickly, it's going to pivot and shift to just her issues with the America First movement and America First economic nationalism, as she calls it, right? So this is her letter to Justin Trudeau. Dear Prime Minister, it has been the honor of my life to serve in government, working for Canada and Canadians. We have accomplished a lot together. On Friday, you told me you no longer want me to serve as your finance minister and offered me another position in the cabinet. Upon reflection, I have concluded the only honest and viable path for me to resign is to resign from the cabinet. To be effective, a minister must speak on behalf of the Prime Minister and with his full confidence. In making your decision, you made clear that I no longer credibly enjoy that confidence and possess the authority that comes with it. For the past number of weeks, you and I have found ourselves at odds about the best path forward for Canada. And now here's where everything shifts towards Trump. Our country today faces a grave challenge. The incoming administration in the United States is pursuing a policy of aggressive economic nationalism, including a threat of a 25% tariff. We need to take that threat extremely seriously. That means keeping our fiscal powder dry today, so we have the reserves we may need for the coming tariff war. That means issuing costly political gimmicks, which we can ill afford and which make Canadians doubt that we recognize the gravity of the moment. That means pushing back against America First economic nationalism. I repeat, that means pushing back against America First economic nationalism with a determined effort to fight for capital and investment and the jobs they bring. That means working in good faith and humility with the premiers of the provinces and territories of our great diverse country and building a true Team Canada response. And it's looking like right now, they don't have a Team Canada response to deal with Donald Trump. I know Canadians would recognize and respect such an approach. They know when we are working for them, and they equally know when we are focused on ourselves. Inevitably, our time in government will come to an end, but how we deal with the threat our country currently faces will define us for a generation and perhaps longer. Canada will win if we are strong, smart, and united. I find it very interesting how much of a quote threat the Canadian government views the incoming Trump administration. Because for all the tough talk that we've heard so far, I believe it was from the Ontario premier. I don't remember his first name, but I remember his last name is Ford. You know, like I've stated in a previous video, they're talking a good game, right? But they really don't want to take it there. They're really just bluffing in the current moment as far as a lot of the tough talk. But it seems that they're just trying to match Trump's energy to show that the Canadian government isn't weak because their Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, is extremely weak. Extremely weak. I want to finish this off. We only got about 3 more sentences left. It is this conviction, it is this conviction which has driven my strenuous efforts this fall to manage our spending in ways that will give us the flexibility we need to meet the serious challenges presented by the United States. I will always be grateful for the chance to have served in government, and I will always be proud of our government's work for Canada and Canadians. I look forward to continuing to work with my colleagues as a Liberal member of Parliament, and I'm committed to running again for my seat in Toronto in the next federal election. She just doesn't want to run it being associated with Justin Trudeau, right? So that's why she's resigning now, taking a step back and a step away from him, because if she's connected to him essentially in the same way that Kamala Harris was connected to Joe Biden, there's no way that she's going to win re-election. Now, what I want to do now is that I want to come over to this clip here because I just want to show and highlight to you guys just how seriously this woman actually takes the America First economic nationalism threat. So let's jump into this clip right here very quickly.
Well, last week, Freeland spoke out in favour of a tough Canadian response if Trump goes ahead with his tariff plans.
Canada depends on the United States, absolutely. It's also true that the United States depends on us. And the reality is that Canada is by far the largest market for the United States. We are a larger export market for the US than China, Japan, the UK, and France combined. That is a big deal. That gives us significant leverage. In the event that the United States were to impose unjustified tariffs on Canada, of course, we would respond, and the Canadian response would necessarily be robust.
Now, what I want to do is get into kind of more or less the specifics behind what's going on with the way in which the Canadian government is attempting to deal with Trump. So I want to fast forward just a little bit. I believe I want to get to the 5:42 mark. So you get a little bit more detail into what's actually happening. You can say more or less behind the scenes concerning the sources that we're going to hear from right now. So let's jump into this right here.
In the hopes that maybe Mark Carney would assume this finance portfolio was just the straw that broke the camel's back, and she resigned today.
And of course, this is all coming in the context of your neighbour, your southern neighbour, Donald Trump, the soon-to-be president of the United States, threatening tariffs, which could result in serious economic issues for Canada. So how has the Canadian government been preparing for this possible introduction of tariffs?
Well, and they're not just small tariffs. Trump is proposing 25% tariffs on all Canadian exports to the United States. This would cripple the Canadian economy. So very soon after that announcement by soon-to-be President Trump, the Prime Minister flew down to Mar-a-Lago to meet with him in Florida. It was said that the meeting went well. Chrystia Freeland, I might add, went on that trip with Trudeau. And But since then, Trump has sort of been trolling the prime minister, calling him the governor, the 51st governor. Canada should just join the United States as the 51st state. And so, but there are some who are really calling for strong measures to have a united front where all the premiers in Canada are uniting to challenge Donald Trump and his tariffs.
Once again, they're trying to get all the premiers together to challenge Donald Trump. In the same way that we've seen here in America, there's been an attempt, at least by the DNC governors, to all get together to challenge and oppose Trump. What a lot of this really highlights to me is truly how weak the current president of the United States, obviously, Joe Biden, actually is. Because nobody was uniting, within the country, let alone across borders, uniting to get some sort of understanding and resolve of how to deal with Joe Biden. Nobody was worried about Biden and Harris. Nobody was scared of Biden and Harris. Nobody cared about Biden and Harris. But like I said, Trump isn't even sitting in the Oval Office yet. And now everybody is getting some act right in them. Now everybody's standing up straight and trying to lock arms with one another and put up a good front against Trump. Once again, that really highlights how weak the country has been thus far under Biden and Harris. We've been looked at as a joke internationally up until now. Trump wins the election, and now all of a sudden, everybody, like I said, they have some act right on them, and they want to negotiate and not play games the way that they were playing with Biden. But I want to get into this next portion of what she's going to say here, just concerning how the political tides are shifting in Canada and how they too are now going conservative, almost overwhelmingly in the same fashion that we have over here in this country with the election of Donald Trump, where he completely destroyed Kamala Harris in a bloodbath, as I like to say. Let's jump into this right here.
And where do the Canadian people stand on the return of Donald Trump? Because you're saying there that the premiers of all the provinces of Canada, there's this proposal for them all to join. But, is there unity on how they stand on Donald Trump?
Yeah, no, an excellent question, because Canadians are largely seen to be progressive people, right? Sort of somewhere in the center of the political spectrum. But I don't know that there is widespread support for Donald Trump, but on the horizon here in Canada, there is a right-wing candidate, currently the opposition leader, Pierre Poilievre, and he is expected to become the next prime minister when the election is called. The support for him has been growing. The dissatisfaction with Trudeau has been growing, and so it is uncharacteristic for Canadians to be so supportive of someone who is right of center on the political spectrum. But that seems to be where we are right now. So while there is not, I wouldn't say widespread support for Donald Trump, people are worried about him and his cabinet choices. There is growing support for this right-wing leader who's expected to win the next election.
The entire world is going conservative. It is happening across the globe. Like I said earlier, when you really start looking into what's happening in Canada, their politics and everything that's going on over there right now mirrors what we have here in the States, seemingly almost 100%. Almost 100%. It's just like looking in the mirror when you see what's happening over there and you compare it to what's happening here. Now, what I want to do is shift a little bit over, but not too much. I want to shift over to essentially their version of Donald Trump, who is expected to defeat Trudeau in the election. His name is Pierre Poilievre. Once again, I know I'm saying his last name wrong, and my apologies. But this clip that I'm going to play here is really going to highlight once again the mirroring between the two countries, the U.S. And Canada, right? Justin Trudeau, his ratings over there, his approval rating is atrocious. I believe what we're getting ready to hear from this woman here is that his approval rating is somewhere around something crazy like 24%. I don't even think Biden's approval rating was that low. I don't even think his was 24%, but Justin Trudeau his approval rating is atrocious. Because once again, over there, they have an extremely liberal government. They betted on, you could say, liberalism, and it backfired in a worse way. The same way it happened over here. So let's jump into this clip right now. And also hit the like button if you haven't already. That's extremely important. And once again, as always, follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. That is extremely important to help circumvent social media censorship and shadow betting. Please follow me on Telegram. The link is in the description box below. It's pinned in the live chat, and it will be pinned in the comment section as well once this stream ends. Now let's get into this news clip right here from Sky News.
To Canada now, where after 9 years as Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau's approval rating has plummeted from the 63% way back in his heyday when he was first elected to just 23% in June of this year. It's continued to tumble. So with an election breathing down his neck coming up just next year, he's decided to back off on the record immigration his government has seen pour into Canada. Here he is saying, look, we could have acted faster, but I'm making a move now, so vote for me next year, people.
In the last 2 years, our population has grown really fast, like baby boom fast. And increasingly, bad actors like fake colleges and big chain corporations have been exploiting our immigration system for their own interests. So we're doing something major. We're reducing the numbers of immigrants that will come to Canada for the next 3 years.
Do you see how, and I just want to pause there for a moment. Like I said, the mirroring between the two countries is astonishing. They're literally playing the same, Trudeau is literally playing the same game that the Biden and Harris administration were playing over here. They have their own immigration issues going on over there. Obviously not to the degree that we have over here, but they've been allowing folks to just come on into Canada. They pretending like, hey, you know, I don't know. We don't know what to do. What are we going to do about this? I don't know. They played stupid as if there was no problem. But now when you're, running for re-election, your approval rating is in the trash, as well as your party and all that liberalism being in the trash in Canada. Now, all of a sudden, you're saying it's time to put a stop to all of this immigration and migration that's happening into Canada. This is crazy how much that we mirror each other. It's very interesting to see. Now, I'm going to let this continue on because we're going to get into essentially their version of Donald Trump, Pierre, in just a moment.
So he's decided, better crack down on this because all the polls in Canada are showing for the first time in a quarter century, the vast majority of Canadians are saying we've had enough with these record levels of immigration. And this guy just wants to get re-elected. Here is the head of the opposition, which I certainly hope will be the PM next year, Pierre Poilievre. He's taking Trudeau to task, saying, mate, you're the cause of the problem. Stop blaming these third-party actors. It's just bad people exploiting the system. Listen to what Pierre has to say and ask yourself, doesn't this sound like he's describing our government, the Labor government, the Albanese government, to a T?
So let's not turn our gaze away from the source of the problem, which is Justin Trudeau, who increased our population growth by 300% in a matter of a couple of years. By his admission, this isn't me, allowed massive fraud in international students, temporary foreign workers, and the refugee system. By his own admission, the liberal immigration policies have caused massive housing, job, and healthcare shortages. And now he's basically denouncing his entire immigration policy and expecting us to believe that he can fix the problems that he caused.
Trudeau and his government is literally Biden-Harris. It's literally Biden-Harris. And shout out to my man, Black Bitcoin Key. Black Bitcoin Key, I didn't know that you were in Canada. I didn't know that that's where you were based out of. We are just the smaller version of the U.S. All this time, I never knew you were in Canada. Shout out to you, bro, for as long as you've been holding it down with me over here. But it's the same thing. What's happening over there is literally the same thing that's happening over here. Oh, shout out to Toronto. I got family in Toronto, in Brampton to be exact, in the suburb of Brampton to be exact. But what's happening over there is literally the same thing that's happening over here. And people are so sick and tired, with the liberalism and the immigration. And you know how Trump says, drill, baby, drill. Well, what Trudeau is a spend, baby, spend, right? They're so sick of all that now it's completely flipping in a way that they never saw coming. I think she said this is the first time in a quarter century that they see a prime minister is disliked as much as Trudeau is. They haven't seen this. They haven't seen it at all, right? Anything like this before. And in closing, as I round this out, that's funny. Like they live in little India, basically. Basically. As I round this thing out, I want to remind everybody at how dictatorial these people, the Trudeau government, actually is and / was. Do you all remember, I believe it was called the Freedom Convoys that were going on, right, back in 2022 in Canada? And it was basically, a trucker protest that was going on, in which not just truckers, but the people of Canada as well, they were protesting against, the jab mandates, right? Well, in protesting against these mandates, what the Trudeau government did, right? And with the woman that has resigned now, Chrystia Freeland, with her at the helm, they went out there and froze everybody's account. If you are a trucker participating in that protest, if it was found out, that you were sending money to these people, they would freeze your account. I'm talking about completely, not just block transactions, but I'll put it to you this way. If you put money into Trump's campaign, you donated $5, $10, heck, even $2, maybe $1, all of a sudden you would find your bank account completely frozen and you can't buy groceries, you can't pay bills, you can't do anything. I don't know how many of you all remember that. And I want to get into this right now as we round these things, as we round this video out. So I just want to pull up this quick news clip here concerning the protest, right? The trucker, I forget what it's called, the Freedom Convoy, I believe it was called, right? I want to pull this clip up in closing, just to, bring us back to 2022 with what was going on then. It seems like a lifetime ago now, but it was only 2 years ago. Let's get into this as we round this out.
To give police more powers to shut down demonstrations, but most insist they're not going anywhere.
We can be here as long as it takes. We're well supported food-wise, fuel-wise, financially. We're fully supported to be here for as long as it takes for this government to realize that the people are the ones that need to have the power.
Did you hear what he said? He said, we have all the support we need. We got all the food, all the fuel. We will be here for as long as it takes before the Trudeau government that we, the people, have the power. And how did the Trudeau government respond to that? We're going to get into that as we close these things out. But we all know, in a nutshell, they froze everybody's money. They froze everybody's money. Let me rewind it back just a little bit.
People are the ones that need to have the power.
The Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford, said he wants people to take their children and go home. What do you say to that?
This is history in Canada, and this is an important thing for them to see and them to know.
These kind of choices shouldn't be mandated. Like, what is the point of having a family doctor if the government is going to decide what every person is going to have?
It started as a protest against vaccine requirements for lorry drivers, but it's mushroomed to an anti-government movement, which has paralysed not only this capital city, but vital trade routes between Canada and the US. It doesn't look like much, but a short drive from the main demonstration, this repurposed car park is its headquarters.
So all of a sudden we get a call and some truckers are out of fuel and we need to get fuel to them. And so we just rally as many people as we can.
Winton was a fire chief for 31 years, but is now helping direct operations here.
These are saunas. You get cold, you get achy, you get chilled, and they can come here and they can just get a little bit of R&R. It's emotionally good, it's physically good.
Look at how prepared they were over there to keep this protest going for as long as it took. As long as it took. They had all the fuel, propane, money, food, water that they could ever ask for until the dictator regime of Trudeau put a stop to it.
The main aim of this nerve centre, though, is refuelling protest lorries to keep their engines idling. Police raided the camp earlier this week, seizing jerry cans containing petrol, but deliveries continue. The Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is under pressure from the US to bring a swift end to this chaos. The longer the standoff continues, the less likely a peaceful resolution. Martha Kellner, Sky News, Ottawa.
Now, coming back as we close things out, how did they resolve this? And as you can see, they had everything they needed. They had everything that they needed to keep this going on forever and ever. Well, then how do you shut this down without being violent, and busting people upside their heads? Well, the next best thing is to steal everybody's money, or at least lock it up so that everybody's broke. And that's what this woman, Chrystia Freeland, was the head of, right? This is actually her legacy in Canada, as many Canadians would tell you. Her legacy is what you're getting ready to hear right now in closing.
If your truck is being used in these protests, your corporate accounts will be frozen. The insurance on your vehicle will be suspended. The consequences are real and they will bite.
Shut down bank accounts. Can you imagine that? I can't imagine that happening over here. I can't imagine being out protesting in the streets, and not just the protesters, but also the supporters of the protesters had their bank accounts completely frozen. So now you can't buy food, you can't pay bills, you can't do anything because of you exercising your First Amendment right to protest and freedom of speech. Now, I know we're talking about Canada, so I don't know what their First Amendment rights are over there, but I'm just drawing that parallel to here. I can't imagine something like that happening over here. So much so that she adopted, as you can see, the nickname Chrystia Freeland, not Freeland, but Chrystia Freeland. Let's play this one more time because this is her legacy.
If your truck is being used in these protests, your corporate accounts will be frozen. The insurance on your vehicle will be suspended. The consequences are real and they will bite.
So in closing, that's what we have going on over there right now in Canada. That's what we have going on over there right now. It's looking like, the opposition leader, as they like to call it, right? The conservative over there. I call him, Canada's version of Donald Trump, Pierre Poilievre. I know I keep saying I'm saying his last name wrong, and my apologies, but Pierre, I'll just say Pierre. It's looking like this guy's a shoo-in to win. And I think that especially from what I'm hearing, and our resident, Toronto native Black Bitcoin Key, he could tell us, it's looking like, if Pierre wins, that would not just be a good thing for Canada, right? Their conservative opposition leader. If he wins, it would be a good thing for them. But I think it would also possibly be a good thing for us too, because, like I said, from my understanding, Pierre he's Canada first. He's running the same campaign essentially that Trump ran over here, and seemingly holds a lot of the same values that Trump holds here. So with that being the case, it'll be a lot easier dealing with Pierre than it would be with Trudeau or anybody that's a part of their political party. So, I'm hoping over here that Pierre wins, and it's most likely looking like that's the case too. It looks like they might actually have even honest polling over there too, because like I said, based off what I've been reading and seeing concerning polling and data and everything like that, it looks like Pierre has it in the bag. And like I said, our resident Toronto native Black Bitcoin Key said it would be better than Trudeau. Yeah, it would be better than Trudeau. I figured that much. So with all that being said, I want to thank you all for joining. Somebody said Nancy Pelosi of the North. That's funny. That's funny, Lisa. Yeah, Christy is Nancy Pelosi of the North. She's Pelosi of the North. But anyways, man, with that being said, that does it for today's stream. I want to thank you all for joining me today. In closing, as usual, I just got to give my shout outs to those who supported the channel. So shout out to my man DSB, who gifted 5 memberships. I appreciate you, DSB. And then he ran it back one more time. He said, I'll much rather donate to the TD Foundation. And I appreciate you, DSB, for donating to the TD Foundation. Thank you, man. I appreciate the support that you always give me. So that does it, man. Hit the like button on your way out. out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Share this video on your social media platform. If you're not watching me, if you're not subscribed to me on Rumble, please do that because that's really important. But as I always beg you guys, please, Telegram at TD Media Group. Follow me on Telegram to circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. And that does it for today's show. I'll catch you guys later. Peace and have a great evening.